I should probably add myself back into the stream if I'm going to be talking. I'm going to bring Jen back on, and we're going to bring in the gang from Red Stylo Media, Mark Mullaney and Enrica Jang.
Hey guys.
I figured I would let you guys pick. Who do you want to talk to, me or Jen?
Jen. Oh, Jen. All day long.
That's fair. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. I'm going to turn you over to Miss Jen's capable hands.
Oh, that's good to be out. I can over though.
I'm surprised that Kyle didn't vapor to death. He was very, that was a big moment for him with his hero.
We're strong, so I would have defeated him soundly.
It's super true. Like, but now I can hang out. But now there's two of my friends.
Two of my friends.
I'm so mad right now. I have always in easy hand reach my awesome Ninja Bear like display, and oh, I know what it is.
Can everybody hear me? Okay, by the way.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Jen's a little bit low.
Yeah, Jen, I think your mic's off.
What? Okay. Should I get closer to mine? Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
you should get closer.
There she is.
But
hey, how you doing?
Yeah, Mark, check the private messages. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, I'm proud of Kyle. Kyle, I'm proud of you. I know you need the support of a masculine figure, so yes, I'm proud of you.
Can everybody hear me now? Am I doing well? I moved away so I could just lean back and enjoy the last two interviews because I feel like I shouldn't sit too close to the screen because those guys are so awesome. It's like if you grew up in
oh my god, absolutely amazing. I feel like folks are probably like they just left because that was really, really awesome. And then who are we?
Yeah, he's exactly right. It's like all these big names, and then it's like, and next up we have Enrica Jang of Crossing and Mark Mullaney of Ninja Bear. And people are like, what?
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Time for a sandwich.
Some of our biggest panels have been yesterday, or we had a giant bump when Scout came on. So you guys have got big fans. I suspect we're going to see that too.
Hopefully. Otherwise, we're like the pimento or something in a sandwich.
Do you forget to pay the plants? I forgot to pay the plants. We need to next time plan this a little better. Have some folks come in.
Oh yeah.
Be our
you keep. I think the ghosts of Poe House are interfering with what you got going on over there, Enrica.
Did you guys have?
Am I cutting out?
Before?
Well, Enrica is broadcasting from historic Poe House, and it's haunted.
No, she's not. I am at an undisclosed location, and I am not at Poe House. Thank you.
Okay.
No, I'm at an undisclosed location, and yeah. But no, is my signal bad? Because you guys are cool. You're cool. You're cool.
You keep freezing for
cool.
me. I don't know if it's freezing for anybody else, but
you can pop out and come back. Just go pop out and come back real fast. Sometimes.
Okay. Well, I will leave and then return. But somebody watch Mark because he's gonna be all weird. So I'll be right back.
I do that sometimes.
I can't promise I can keep anyone under control.
Are we actually on right now, or?
Yeah, you're totally live.
Oh, okay. That's my favorite.
This is what real live TV looks like, especially during COVID when you're like, hey, man, we got to talk to each other, and that's cool.
I'm very distracted by all the great-looking books and things right behind you. Is Ninja Bear right next to a Charmander? It looks like Ninja Bear's right next to a Charmander, between Crossing and a Charmander. Yeah,
the Charmander art is by Nicole Fernandez, who's going to be on in the 7 o'clock hour, my time, 8 o'clock.
Very nice piece.
Yeah. So I see Enrica's coming back.
Is she? Okay.
Popping it. Oh, maybe Kyle doesn't know to pop her back. I have the power.
Is it better? Did it work?
It seems a little better. Yeah, it seems a little bit better. We'll see.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys are awesome. So if I just have to step out, I'm cool. You got this, and then I'll go.
right, so introduce yourselves. Enrique, go first.
Hi, my name is Enrique Jing. I am the editor-in-chief of Red Stylo Media. We are a small indie publisher out of Baltimore, Maryland. And we publish comics and anthologies, and been doing this for almost over 10 years now. We've officially hit the decade, past the decade mark. I feel like last year shouldn't really count, but still does.
Last year counts. Last year still counts.
Last year counts.
Are you still alive? Then you count. You're good.
Hanging on.
Your
I
company
think
still
so.
gets
I think
COVID
so.
extra award. I saw Jim Starlin's face.
With some of the help from our friends, and Jen, you were a huge part of that, especially when all of this went down in March last year. So we owe Jen a huge thanks for bringing people together. It wasn't just helping us, but helping this entire community of indie creators connect with shops and connect in this new way. That was all you.
Yeah, that really, I'm just a girl standing in front of the world asking it to love comics. I think the day that they announced the shutdown for Diamond, which they absolutely needed to do, was the right move. Absolutely right move. All I could hear was, because I do so much live interaction and have customers that are hungry for new product all the time, was like, I'm going to get cut off from product. And that was a panic moment. It was a sheer moment of panic, me creating Plan C. Because I was like, man, we got to move past Plan B. We need to go to Plan Comics. How are we going to get comics moving across the country?
That would be Plan C.
Plan C, Plan Comics. And it, I really just like said, I'm going to put all my friends in a room together and all their friends that are comic book related, publishers, creators, and retailers, and at least get comics moving around the country somehow. Like, I figured if we were all in the same room, we're all smart people, we'd come up with a way to do it. So that's really kind of what I was hoping for, and it worked out way better than I thought I was going to. So I'm happy that it's been a benefit to people, and not just like a great, now I get 20,000 messages a day.
You get what you ask for. Careful what you wish for.
Yeah. So to know that you've been around for 10 years, it makes me like sad, because I could have been selling your amazing books for so long, but people ask what was the good things that happened out of COVID, and this, I think, the slowdown to be able to go and look at all of those extra emails and to hunt down comic books that I always wanted to carry but never had the time or space on the rack, I guess. This has made it so it's completely possible, and as much as I support independent comic books, this has allowed me to really support independent comic books in a really concerted way. So,
I think we did have an opportunity to kind of, if we could figure out how to keep going, I think that was the only thing that was on anybody's mind. It's like, what's going to happen? Nobody knew what was going to happen, and just had to keep going in the middle. And what I did see a lot of panic from different folks, and everybody's trying to put on a brave face, and then other people are trying to, okay, so we've been trying to get virtual stuff going for a while, let's just jump into it. And then you saw some people really just like jump into the current and then just go, and they're doing such a really great job. So I think we're still figuring out how things have changed, period. And find the way ahead. I think that people are much more open to. They need content. They need new books. They need new voices, and all of it's just such an important thing. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, pre-COVID, how did you?
What was that like?
Your fan base. Well, how did you find your fan base before? Everything has changed. The whole world is totally different. But how did you connect with your fan base before to have them find your comic book lines?
Well, we, I think, initially and for the last several years, we have done an anthology every year. announcing an anthology, and the comics community is wonderful readers and people who are voracious for comics, but creators are also voracious for comics. And so keeping the company alive really depended on meeting more people in the industry. They're the ones that sort of keep everything really going. So doing an anthology every year, we have published over 350 different artists and writers over the last 10 years. And so doing a lot of shows, meeting people at cons, that the almighty email list, that kind of stuff. But we'd hit the road for the first few years, and then every year a new influx of creators working with folks kept things going. I think crowdfunding has also changed things significantly from when I started up to now, just completely changed the game. And now there's a global community plugged into one another via crowdfunding. So,
how about you, Mark? What was your traditional way to connect?
My way to connect was basically through Enrica and her plans, because I've been working with Red Stylo Media pretty much for the entirety of the last 10 years. We first started working together in 2011. I was one of those souls that joined the lost ship Red Stylo with one of the anthology, the very first anthology book they put together. So I've been sort of working with Enrica ever since then, and relying on her and her ability and her skill at getting, just basically actually taking an idea and making it into a thing and then getting it in front of people. That's pretty much been, the major outreach for, like, my own personal book, for example, Red Ninja Bear. Like, that was left to my own devices, I would be sitting in a basement drawing it just for myself. But then Enrica saw it and she's like, I want to do something with this. And the next thing you know, I actually have a printed book and like actual plush figures made. And I don't know how any of it happened. She just waves a wand, and next thing you know, this stuff's out there. So if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here right now.
It's because she's a boss.
Yas Queen. Is that right to say?
Well, if I had known all I had to do was wave a wand, that would have been nice.
Yeah, well, you've been wasting all this time with social outreach. You've been crowd campaigns and social outreach and going to cons. All you have to do is magic.
So, Henrika, how do you find
the way to do it? Easy. Make $1 million.
How do you find and gather all the creative?
How do I find what?
How do you find all the creative people to come under the banner of your house?
Well, prior to the last 2 years, we had become sort of an annual ritual for New Year's Day to release open call. We announce a theme and then open call for entries, and then just welcome, whether you're a veteran or a newbie, students welcome to enter, and then invite people to pitch. Unfortunately, COVID did change quite a few things and has kind of changed the landscape, especially because the books really depended on getting to shows, getting things out there. Being able to launch a Kickstarter or other kind of crowdfunding campaign got the thing made, but if we can't get the books sold, big problems. So shows, unfortunately, off the radar for us. We didn't feel it was fair to do another open call until we could repair that drop in the business model. But years before this, just doing an open call and inviting people who, whether they had done comics or not, to just come play in the sandbox, offer a theme, and then tell them to go crazy and pitch the craziest twist on the theme that they could think of, and then put the book together. And that's it worked for a while. We hope to get back to it. Really hoping to get back to it once all of this stuff is passed.
All of this stuff.
But in the meantime, working on independent series.
Mark, tell us about the genesis of the idea for.
So hopefully.
Say the genesis for the idea of Ninja Bear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, I had this idea for a thing, and then I did it. No, no. Ninja Bear is one of those things, and I'm sure a lot of indie comic book creators have this same kind of basic story. It's like I drew something when I was in art school millennia ago. I was, draw on my sketchbook all the time, and so there'd be all these random things, and so there's this one illustration I did of like just a little teddy bear as a ninja that was kind of like based on another thing, and I was just kind of like just an idle doodle, and then for some reason it's that initial illustration sort of like captured something in my brain, and next thing you know, I sort of was like drawing that figure more and more and kind of refining it into something that was more unique than what it started as. And then stories start to form around this. So like I was saying, I'm sure a lot of indie guys have this same experience where it's some thing you never planned on doing, just sort of like gets lodged in your brain. And the next thing you know, you're creating stories and worlds for this character to inhabit. And so I've always been a big fan of folklore and mythology. I like to read stories about like creatures and from these like weird stories that come from all different parts of the world and all the different kind of beliefs that different cultures have about the kind of magical creatures that inhabit their environment. And I started to kind of like, well, that would be perfect for a character who's like, this is a character who could go on a fantasy quest and have to come to face with these things and stuff like that. So it's just sort of this random drawing I did started combining with these ideas I liked about, folklore and fantasy. And next thing you know, I had these stories, and the stories that I'm starting to put out with Ninja Bear now are ones that have been rattling around in my head since college, but I never did it. And part of it, as a lesson I always like to talk about when it comes to talking about Ninja Bear is I had all these individual stories, but there was no overarching storyline to tie them all together. And so I kind of sat on it for years with this like, someday, I'll get my stuff together and I'll actually like make this into a proper thing. And it got to a point a few years ago where I, wanted to do something personal, like a project for myself, because I'm a freelance creative. So I do animation, I do illustration, I do graphic design. I spend so much of my life creating things for other people. And it's important to always create something for yourself. So this one point I wanted to do something for myself, and I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And I thought to myself, you know what? I have these Ninja Bear stories. They're self-contained. They don't really go anywhere. I would like to be part of something bigger. But if I keep waiting for that idea to come, I'm never going to do it. So I'm just going to pick the one I like the most, and I'm just going to make it happen. I'm just for myself. I didn't want to do it for anybody else. I wasn't trying to be famous or anything. I was just like, I just want to do something for myself. I want to see this particular story actually fleshed out. So I illustrated the first Ninja Bear. It was a 12-page story, and I just put it online because that's what you do in the 2000s. You do something and then you immediately put it online because it didn't happen. And then Enrica saw it, and she's like, I like that specifically. I want to make it into I want to make a doll of Ninja Bear. And I was like, okay, if you can do that, good luck to you. And so next thing you know,
I just wanted a Ninja Bear, so we had to make them.
So a year later, we're planning a Kickstarter.
I just wanted one.
And I was like, she's like, I want to do a Kickstarter to have these things made. What do you want to Kickstarter? And I was like, well, I have another story. I could actually start doing this. So I kind of like, even in that first Kickstarter, I still didn't know really what the actual overarching story of the character was going to be. I was just sort of like dove into it. It's like, here's another thing here's another story I can just throw it into the ether. So I'm just going to do that. And so that's what happened. And then, I have a better sense of what the overarching story is now and where it's going, but it's still not totally fleshed out. Don't tell Enrica, she's on mute, right? Oh no, she knows my secret. I
heard it all, Mark. Heard it all.
So I'm, there's still a lot of that. I have a better idea now, but there's still a lot of this kind of feeling in the dark to figure out where I'm going with it. But I've been having fun with it so far, and hopefully other people have as well. But that's where it came from.
How different is the design of the character of Ninja Bear from your first doodlings to where he is now?
Oh man, that is a good question. Actually, it's I think I stuck it in one of the books, but he's drastically different. Part of the thing was I struggled for a long time what to do with the character, because the original one, he's just like this little, as from a character standpoint, I'm going to get technical for a minute. From the character standpoint, the original design of Ninja Bear would never have functioned as like a character because he wouldn't be able to do any of the action stuff. It was a struggle to come to a crossroads of something that could be still cute, but have the kind of build that would facilitate action, because it's a very action heavy story. He's a ninja. He's got a sword. He's got to fight stuff. So the original design was this short, little stubby, nubby arms and stuff like that. And I didn't want to make him too stringy. So it took years to actually get. It's funny because he's one of those designs that looks so simplistic on the surface, but if you knew the amount of effort that went into it, you'd look at me and go, "Why did you spend your time doing that? You could have done something useful."
Well, it's a lot to think about, right? Because if you think about the way fans address their fandoms, that's kind of the thing that they do. They'll go and they'll say, yes, we love so much Red Sonja, but her outfit fighting in the snow is pretty impractical.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know if that would really help to fight against the temperatures and stuff. Shouldn't she be wearing something better? Actually, I think I can pull this up right in here. I actually have the original illustration I did of Ninja Bear, which is not. You'll see it's pretty close to where he ended up, but there was a lot of going back and forth. For a while there, I had the idea of like giving him clothes, but then I thought, all the best comic book characters or the best cartoon characters don't have clothes. They're all nude.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
I feel like too that is a bigger company's probably good. Let's talk about let's worry about the fandom. I think what's great about Mark's book is he is always thinking about the kids in his audience. The kids are going to be looking at this book and like reading this book, and sometimes I'll give them a hard time. I'm like, you kind of left this open, or you left this open-ended, and the characters like, well, sometimes it just doesn't make sense, and why'd you do that? And Mark really has a sense of the story that he's telling to the proto kid in his head, and not everything makes sense, and not everything's gonna make sense, and kids know that better than everybody, so you can say that to a kid. And so Mark is a great storyteller, and then this character design is just awesome.
Well, as I revealed, it's more of I have no idea what's going on, and I will fight tooth and nail to pretend that I do know what's going on.
Yeah, there's a big difference. And
when we start thinking about the fandom, I think we've got different problems.
So I can see what you're saying, that like it would be really hard for him to do very much ninja-ing with just two.
Yeah, there's not a lot, and there's a lot of I think I pontificated a lot on this in the book that we just put out, probably unnecessarily so, but there's a lot of me going back and forth between wanting him to have like nubby hands, and here you go. Wanting to have nubby hands and wanting him to have like actual digits so he could like hold a sword properly. But as you can see, a lot of in the early days, he had no fingers or anything, and stuff just kind of like was magneted to his hand, which I thought was cute. But at the same time, it's not, I'll get a lot of people at Comic Cons going, it's like, well, actually, that doesn't make any sense. Does he have magnets in his hands? How does that work? So I don't know. I'm fairly happy, but even still, the character. This is the interesting thing about character design for anybody who's interested in that kind of thing. Is even with the fact that I put out a series of books and stuff, and I'm fairly happy with the character, I'm still refining the design as I move forward. He's got, and this is the illustration from that I used on the cover art of the volume that we just kickstarted this past year, and he's got feet now. Whereas in earlier books, he still had the round nubby feet, but he had fingers on his hands. But now he's actually got like feet that stick out, so he can walk properly. But again, it's always a struggle to figure out like, what can I do to this character to make him more appealing, but still maintain the vibe that I feel. Because part of it too is there's an aspect to the way he looks that's sort of in my head that I can't translate with words. I can only translate with images. And so it's hard to like balance what I feel like he should look like versus like what actually works for a character like this. So it's tough.
It's so funny that the change between his eyes and ears size ratio is so dramatically different.
Yeah, and there's actually early on there was a lot of people who said he looked like a mouse. So that's always fun. After I drew the first 12-page story, people are like, is that a mouse? What is that? It's like, no, it's clearly a bear in the way that I haven't quite figured out yet, but it's clearly a bear. No,
what you say is, do you like mice? Then it's a mouse.
It's whatever gets you to buy a copy of the book, really, ultimately. If you want to say he's a walrus, then yeah, that's what he is. He's whatever gets you to buy a copy.
It's a mouse, and his last name is Bear.
Yes.
To be clear. Mr. Bear to you.
Mr. Bear. I didn't go to 3 years of Bear College to be called Bear. I don't know.
There's
Joke
a lot
went
of
away.
Bear.
creators that I talked
Yeah.
to this weekend. They kind of like opened my mind to. I guess I always knew this, that most creatives have also either started in a different career or also have another career that they're doing in conjunction with their creating. Mark, do you have any of that in your background? Did you used to be, a police officer? Or...
No, I mean, when I was in college and before, I did a lot of odd jobs at early person jobs like convenience store clerk, or I worked in a butcher shop at the local grocery store for a while. But once I graduated from college, because I went to college to study animation because I was into comics, drawing indie comics throughout high school, as I'm sure a lot of creatives have been. And when it came time to go to college, I decided to go to major in animation because I figured that would give me the broadest opportunities, because you learn the basics of illustration, but you also learn a whole other skill set in terms of animation. So when I got out of school, it was a bit of a struggle. It was funny because when I graduated from animation school was right around the time when Cartoon Network was focusing on producing live action shows for kids. So basically me and my class, we graduated into an environment where even the Cartoon Network was trying not to make cartoons anymore. So it was not a fun time to be on the job market. But we all got through it. And, I've been living in Boston, which kind of narrows my options, but I've still managed to eke out a living here doing creative work entirely, whether it's graphic design, animation, illustration, or comic books. I've been managed to pick and choose all different things, working in the comic book industry, working in marketing, even doing a little stint here and there on television, doing animation for television. So it's, I have primarily an animator, but ultimately I do all kinds of different creative stuff. And it's pretty much been the only job I've ever had, is just trying to convince people to pay me to do the weird stuff I like to do, on my own.
Well, I'm guessing that because you get to do so many different parts of the creative, based on the skills that you've learned, that it makes it less likely you're going to kind of burn out of doing the same thing.
Yeah, you'd think that. Sometimes it's tricky.
About that.
What was that?
We were talking about that the other day. And I've talked to a lot of creators where this is true. Like, if you are doing what you love for a living, you're never not working. You never get a break. And so you burn out. You can burn out fast.
Yeah, I mean, you can burn out. I feel like part of it is, doing something like Ninja Bear is good because it's mine. Particularly working, doing, especially in marketing, there's so much collaboration creatively that is the kind of thing it can burn you out, where you're having people who are not creative people telling you how to be creative can be challenging sometimes. And it's nice to have, and even with doing comic books, I do comic book stuff for other people as well. I do work as a colorist. I do work as a letterer. So that stuff is more fun. But at the same time, you're still playing in somebody else's sandbox. The thing that helps me not be burned out is doing something like Ninja Bear, where I can go in and it's my sandbox and I can decide who gets to play with me, and nobody gets to play in my sandbox. It's all me. I never let anybody else in there. And Rika can watch from outside and cheer me on, but I play in that sandbox. And it's nice.
Right.
That's one of, I think, the best ways to avoid burnout when you're working in the creative field, is to have whatever it is on the side that's your baby, that's your thing, that nobody gets to tell you what to do. You're the one who decides what happens. And then, if you're putting it out there, if it's the kind of thing where you're going to put it out there, like for me, I'm putting Ninja Bear out there. If it lives or dies, it does it it's on my head whether it lives or dies, and I have to accept that. But except for the fact that Enrica puts all this effort into helping me promote it, and that I don't let her dictate in any way what it should be. So she gets to deal with that failure, and she can just watch the Hindenburg go down. But I feel like that's a really good way to avoid burnout. So that's how I keep myself moderately sane.
So you mentioned having conflict in doing those kinds of projects, not with a specific example, but like an example. How do you overcome those kinds of conflicts when they arise?
Well, a lot of times when you're working and particularly, in when you're doing stuff for other people, oftentimes you can't really you can't really like resolve it or get past it. You just have to accept it. Like, cause a lot of times it's the problem is like somebody telling you to do something that doesn't make any sense or doesn't work. But they think it should be done that way. And so you kind of have to just, at the end of the day, they're the ones they're the ones signing the check. So you have to, you're a contractor, you're hired to do something. You have to ultimately give them what you want. You can give them your professional opinion and be like, well, actually generally this is done this way. But as long as you do that, you fulfilled your part of the bargain in terms of like, you're an expert in the field, you're producing the work, you're going to give them your point of view or your experience. But if they choose to ignore that, all you have to do is just kind of like, you bite your tongue really hard. You just say, okay, that's great, let's do it. And then you just do it. And again, that's where it's nice to have something else to run back to, where I can cry all the way back to my desk to draw Ninja Bear and to just let the tears fall onto my tablet screen while I draw.
So I'm asking this question with a kind of like idea there might be a lot of people watching that might be interested in a career in doing graphics, art design, and animation and those kinds of things. So when you accept a job, within that job itself, how many changes will you kind of like allow a client to make before you have to then charge more? Or they're just like a built-in, you can change what you want this to look like 10 times and then I'm cutting you off, man.
Ultimately, it comes down to what, that's kind of a decision every individual designer and creative has to make, is how far down this road of revisions do you want to allow a client to go? Some clients are good where, you do the thing and you send it over and they'll send it back, because there's always going to be revisions to the first draft of anything. Like you're trying to take something from somebody else's head and put it down for the world to see. So, and it's the first time they're going to see it. So obviously there are always going to be changes. Sometimes, like, for example, I just finished a series of short videos and I sent them back, and the only revisions I had was just tweak the volume of the audio. Everything else is perfect. And then we did that, and now that project's done. I can move on now. That was an easy job. There are other projects, and I'm sure there's a lot of like designers. If there's a lot of designers watching right now, they'll understand the struggle of a file with 20 files in it, like a folder with 20 files in it called various versions of Final, Final 2, Final 3, Final 1, Final 2, Final 3, etc., etc. Those are the kind of clients where when you begin the project, and sometimes you have to wait until you've worked with them once before you realize they're going to be like this. But those are the kind of clients where you have to say, like, all right, here's the rate for the project. You get 3 revisions with that. If we any more revisions, it's going to cost you more. Or you charge hourly. And in which case, if you're charging an hourly rate, then the more revisions, the better, because it's just like, all right, fine. You want me to go and take 3 hours to render out this video because you want this green to be slightly different green. All right. Yeah, that's fine. You pay me to change the tone, like just a little bit. That's, I think, really comes down to.
By the way, that is a quick way to find. No, it's a really quick way to like find a poor freelancer who's been burned. If you look at their contact page and there's already a bunch of rules for all the things they're not going to do for you.
Exactly.
3 revisions. Don't call me at night. Like you tell you put that story together immediately as you see that page.
Yeah, a lot of times it's good to kind of bake that in, and you always want to be careful if you're working with a new client for the first time. You always want to be careful and side on, lean to the side of caution, because either you're gonna totally keep yourself safe, or you're gonna find yourself pleasantly surprised, and in which case, either way, you're still gonna come out on top of it. So it is always good to sort of bake in, depending on what your payment structure is. If you're going hourly, then let the changes come hard and fast until it's done, because you're going to get paid for it either way. Plus, there is a little thing. I'm not giving away too many secrets, but if you have for those really difficult clients, you can add a little extra, pain in the butt fee. Just kind of like just a little bit of a, you're driving me crazy tax that can be tacked on there. Just be like, and an extra $5 an hour. What's that for? Oh, nothing. Just, taxes.
Is that a line item?
You put it under some fancy title where it's just like
that line item in your last invoice to me.
That's pretty much the entire invoice. I think ultimately, if you were easy to work with, Enrica, the jobs would be, the invoices would be like $10, but it goes up from there. I absolutely love working with Enrica. She's an example of, because again, like, I'm a longtime freelancer and I've been working with Enrica for 10 years. So like, that is a good relationship that we have going on. We're not just like, client and creative consultant, but we're also friends. She came to my wedding 2 years ago. It was great. She's met my child and she's not horrified by his screaming.
We have a question from Mike.
It was a great buffet at that wedding.
Do you yourself edit Ninja Bear?
I do I do editing. But Enrico always takes a different. The last mini we put together for Kickstarter bonus thing, she came back to me. It's like, oh, by the way, it was a couple of grammar mistakes that I went and fixed them for you, so don't worry about it. And I mean, technically, that's just her job. She's in the book as editor. She's credited in the book as editor. So if I didn't leave something for her to edit, then I'm a liar, and that's not nice. So I have to make her honest by screwing up something in there. But for the most part, it's funny.
You're saying that now, You're saying that not having actually gotten a copy of the last book we put together. Like,
yeah,
I know there's going to be a lot of pushback on edits, so I just do it. And then send it to the printer. And
my
then
sandbox.
I don't
Mine.
think, do you read the books after I send them to you? Sorry,
I don't read my own books.
No.
I don't read my own books.
The person who pushes print is the person who has the power. I think
Enrica's frustration with my poor grammar is starting to break up her internet feed.
Oh no. Oh no.
She's so angry with how bad I am at writing that's literally breaking down the fabric of the internet.
Oh man. So Enrica, I know that you said that Red Stilo has been around for 10 years. What was the genesis of that company?
Well, what's the old little
adage?
Truth that if you want to get into comics, you have to make adage. If you want to get into comics, you have to make comics. And I think that was the beginning. I wanted to get into comics, so I wanted to make them. And then there was a time I wanted to be hired as an editor. And so you're not going to get hired as an editor editing your own stuff. You really shouldn't be editing your own stuff. So got to edit other folks. And accidentally created this company. That first anthology, putting together the Poe Twisted anthology, accidentally met some incredible people you want to just keep working with, accidentally put out a book that is still one of our best sellers to this day, accidentally started something that was fun to do every single year. And we're still here. We're still doing that. So it means a lot to me, though, that Mark says that, because the difficult people in your life are not necessarily bad. And I know I'm difficult, and Mark is very gracious and nice to me. So it means a lot that he's still around. And he does quite a bit. He's a producer at Red Stylo and really is the engine behind all of our projects. So, but that was the beginning. And then continuing to do independent series. I think that because we can't do shows at this time, putting together a book where we can't really share the sales with the other folks that are contributing their work to the project, we decided to just focus on the independent series. So working on Ninja Bear, working on Crossing, working on these series, launching new series. That way we can fulfill our promises to the creators. That way is what we're working on this year. So yeah.
Is The Crossing the first of your like just standalone books?
No. Crossing, though, is probably my most successful with Red Stylo. I've been writing for a very long time and had different mixed success with my own series and other books published by other companies. Crossing, though, again, this is where crowdfunding really has changed the landscape for things. I think that Kickstarter not only made it possible to create the book and fund the book, but it also gets us out to an audience that literally is global. And that's just something that that's just true now. But so yeah, the Crossing, as Mark was saying, though, Crossing is my project. It's my baby. I don't have to share it with anybody or answer to anybody when it comes to that stuff. So it keeps me, it's a book about insane things, but it keeps me sane to being able to work on something that belongs to me. So it's a really great way to put it.
I love pitching your book because I do it often when I do my walk around shows. I like try to hit it at least every other show. And I find this conflict within myself that I love the premise of the book so much, but part of the twist that exists in the first issue is also part of the hook. So I struggle with whether I give the hook, which is the twist, or not. But if I give it, it means always people pick up. But then I also realize that I am robbing someone of the joy of discovering the twist that happens very early on in the book.
Well, make your first pages strong pages. That's thank you for that. Thank you. I don't think it's giving anything away to really tell people she's a ghost. You just don't know if you're witnessing her murder or if she's already dead. So there's that. But thank you. You've been a big cheerleader for the book. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those opening pages where she's just like.
So we just.
The video game part of the book where you get a couple pages in and you realize that it's not just his it reads as that annoying girlfriend that just doesn't know when she should be going off to work or whatever, and that she's just like hanging around the house and he's annoyed that he has to go to work and she's there, when you realize later that she can't go to work. It's a different dynamic. Yes.
Now, Crossing has been a pleasant surprise. She could go with him to work.
Yeah,
and she does.
She's dead doesn't mean
Actually,
she can't be contributing to society. Come on, man.
That's right. That's right. No, a shout out to Alex Cormick, who is the artist on Crossing, and then Mark is our color and letter guru for the book. But Alex Cormick and folks in your audience will know him from a lot of IDW titles, a lot of Comics Tribe titles. He's just an incredible, and he's a machine because he is working on a ton of stuff constantly. But he has really made that book amazing. And the combination between Alex and Mark with some of the ghost effects, especially this last issue that we did with the Ghost Vision variant, we really tried to do something kind of technically challenging, and we threw the twist in there, the technical twist, and after the book had already been drawn. And so a lot of credit to Mark for making our Ghost Vision variant happen this year. We created a variant of the 5th issue that includes a couple of transparent films so that you can read the scenes with just the living characters and then overlaid with the ghosts in a clear overlay of the ghosts. You could get to read the scene both ways and what it's like for the living characters who are interacting with ghosts that other people can't see and how crazy they look, but then you get to see when the ghost overlay falls on the page. And so it was the book had already been drawn, and Mark was just beginning to start on the color work for that issue. And then I said, what would be fun? And Mark didn't kill himself. So
It's funny when people you work for say, you know, what would be fun, and it never turns out to be.
fun.
No, but honestly, Enrica really, I mean, she gives me credit for this, but she took the bullet on this one because through the technical things, she basically had to go in and like hand edit these illustrations to make them work for the book. Like, so she has carpal tunnel that I could only imagine at this point. I believe, I'm impressed by the.
No. Actually, I have a show and tell too. I can share this process and show you guys what this thing looked like. All right, so just to show you, so Alex, the first step, Alex just draws the comic the way he has with the ghost character and the living character in this scene, and then Mark in coloring the page went in and ripped the scene apart with a layer for the ghost and a layer for the living characters. And so he's coloring these pieces, and then as long as you guys can see this, and then coming down here, the transparent overlay printed over, transparent overlay inserted in the book. You do this, and then we had to paint the films by hand. Once the book was bound, we had to paint each of the films and then overlay them back over the scene, and that was the final result. So
that is an amazing amount of work, but
I don't know if you guys saw all that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's coming across. I'm seeing a loading screen.
It was, but totally worth it.
Yeah, no, the effect, because even like I haven't seen the actual printed book yet, but I, in creating the layouts for it, it helped me to imagine like what it would be like, because I actually had to like recreate the pages without the ghosts on them. So it does add an extra level of humor. I'd almost want to have that for every issue, where you can have the scene written, like read with and without the ghosts, because particularly when the living characters are interacting with the in front of other living characters, but with the ghosts, and the living characters can't see the ghost. It's funny because then it just looks like a crazy person talking to himself, and it adds that extra level to the story, because it's one thing to know the interpretation of this other person is that the main character is insane, but to actually see it from the other person's perspective and see like, oh yeah, he really. I was saying it reminded me of if you've ever read that online comic Garfield Without Garfield, where the guy just edited out Garfield from all these comic strips, so it's just John. Just as a sad, lonely man talking to himself.
I've not seen that. I'm going to go find that.
And we're just sad, lonely people talking to ourselves. Did Jen go away?
No, she's still here. I can see and hear Jen. I don't know if you can see.
She's still here, or
Jen.
did I just go away?
I think you're.
I can't see or hear Jen.
All right, so right now, this is the Twilight Zone. I'm Rod Serling.
Person.
Everybody can see and hear me, but you guys can't see and hear each other. Submitted for your approval. An internet chat room where two people can't see each other, but the third one can. He is now in control. Welcome to the Mark Zone.
Is she the ghost? Is she the ghost, or am I the ghost?
This is literally us doing the crossing without the ghosts thing in real life. You two are talking to me, and you have no idea what you start saying. And now I look like a crazy person.
Is she making fun of me? Is she talking about me?
She is smiling very graciously. I literally. You and I are babbling about stuff I don't think she can hear. So
I can hear both of you.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Well, and I would just like to remind Mark that I'm in control.
Oh no, Kyle's here.
I have
now we're in trouble.
It's all Kyle.
Kyle's here.
Oh, guys, we made Dad mad.
This is funny.
So I had to walk away for a minute. Did we get to talk about Enrique's day job?
Do I have to stop this car? We have to pull over.
Go, Kyle. You ask your
trouble.
Enrica has one of the coolest.
Oh no, I can't see Kyle. I can only see Mark. I can't see myself.
See or hear either
there I
am.
am.
Right now. Can you hear them and see them?
Can you hear anyone now?
Can you? I can only hear you. Oh, this is so weird.
I don't. Is it worth having her jump out and jump back in again, or?
Yeah, probably.
We still have 10 minutes. We're still good.
I mean, I could translate on her behalf if you want to. Like, I speak internet to Rika. Like, I can translate.
No,
I speak fluent in Rika Jang. So
one of the cool things about Mark is that Mark is the person. Well, one of the cool things about Mark is that Mark is the person I go to when I'm like, "Hey, Mark, I don't know how to do this thing. graphically or how to make it look good. And Mark usually knows how to make it look good.
I mean, vaguely.
Hi.
Slightly better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we could always
She's
hear
back.
you. You just couldn't hear us.
I couldn't, and it was so weird because only Mark and Jen was gone, and then Kyle came in, and then like Mark's like narrating for me, like, "Oh, Kyle's here!" I'm like, "Oh no, oh dear."
Dad's coming to yell at us, guys. Dad's mad.
Oh,
We're making
dear.
too much noise. Dad's got to wake up and work third shift. He's mad.
I walked away for a minute because we had a phone call for one of the later shows today. But did when we were talking with Mark about the other things he did, did we talk about how Enrica has one of the coolest job titles in the world?
No, you go. Ask her all about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
we don't talk
Enrique,
about
tell
such
everybody?
things. No, we don't talk about such things. My secret identity, and you're trying to out me.
Well, all I want is the
No.
job title. You don't gotta say where. She's got
Director?
2 words: executive director, which means that she's everybody's boss at her job, and that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted is that she
And-
oftentimes bosses Mark and I around,
and
it's pretty
I am
common.
also editor-in-chief of Red Styler, so Mark's little whole
You are.
performative, I get to do what I want. Yeah, I'm the
Right.
boss, man. I'm the boss.
Right.
I can live in a fantasy.
Enrica
if I
doesn't
choose
do it if
to.
she isn't the boss, is what I'm
That's
trying
right.
to tell people.
Kyle,
Why would you?
Kai only gets the benefit of being bossed around when she's playing the role of the director, but I get bossed around in stereo, the director and the what was the title? You know what I'm saying? Chief, editor in chief. So
And when
I
when I cross over to the ghostly plane, apparently, Mark, you'll be the only one who will hear
I'm
me.
like, yeah, exactly. It's like as soon like when you die, I am going to be haunted by you, following
Knock
me
on
around.
wood.
I mean,
Please knock on
granted,
something, please. I'm trying to stick around. Thank
no,
you.
you're going to be around much longer than me. My diet consists mostly of cheese and soda, so you're going to be around much longer than me.
All right, I put off asking this question as long as I can.
Uh-oh.
I'm a huge Poe fan, and I hear you guys have like the coolest Poe event that you guys put together.
In another life, in another plane, we do put together the International Edgar Allan Poe Festival and Awards. So, plug to folks in Baltimore and folks around the world, I think, and Kyle, actually. I think he
And
he
Kyle.
did some stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
Mark,
he's
he
been
did some
involved.
stuff, did some things.
He's always there
Um,
yelling at me, telling me to turn my mic on or off.
He hung around. He helped. He helped. No, he was a really big.
He's hanging
help,
around
so-
now. He's in the ether.
He
He
is.
can hear us. He is.
Well,
He's the
once again,
walls.
you're this ghost who can only. You're this guy who can only hear the ghost.
Well, no, I can't see or hear him right now. I can feel him watching me.
Which is worse.
It's so much worse. Oh no!
Worse. No, but we have chosen, and I don't know why we do this. We have chosen to work with each other on a number of different projects, and
So, what does that festival look like? What is it? An actual gathering where everyone just
Well,
like
that's the question. Which year are you talking about?
yeah, which year? That's right. With pandemic, without pandemic, because those are two different things.
without?
Without. Actually, Jen, once more credit where credit is due. I think we modeled the festival this past year off of your incredible work doing that first virtual con earlier last year. So you set the tone, you set the bar, and we were just trying to meet it.
That was all Kyle.
That was all Kyle. All right.
Well, that's why.
Well,
we
don't
stole
tell
it.
him. Don't tell him I said nice things about him. He'll be weird next time we talk.
You mean like opposite of how he usually is?
Yeah. Don't tell him I said anything nice.
But no, the festival is usually an in-person thing, and it's one of those interesting challenges of 2020 because 2020 was a year, I'd say, the year of the challenge. But that was one of the big challenges: is how do you get the same vibe? Because essentially, like, people go to the festival to like be there to see the artisans, to see the environment, to see the historical things, and then it's just you try to get people to still be interested in engaging with it when they're going to be doing it from their couch, which they've already been sitting on for 5 months by that point, by the time we got around to doing it. So it's like, here's another thing you could watch. Do you want to? But we got a lot. And I think we probably got slightly more engagement because it was online, that people weren't restricted, because, it kind of opened it up to people who couldn't come to Baltimore. So it actually worked out really well. And but it was
I think
interesting
that's a
'cause-
lesson for. I think that's a lesson for everything that we're creating this year, whether it's Red Style or any creative endeavor. Everybody's had to like work really hard to create, like pivot and do something online. And the thing about it is, once we are finally in the clear, I don't think this stuff's going away. So we're working on and honing a tool set that I think we're going to need going forward, no matter what, because now people expect it. I think there was a lot of resistance to virtual events before all this, and then they became necessary. And then now, even if you do have a live event, I think we're anticipating that, and I think conventions are going to find this is true. I think all creators are going to find this is true. Everything you've done to stay alive during this time, you're going to have to do that and what you were doing before. And that is going to be daunting, kind of. Brave New World, man, it's different.
To put it in a dark tone, 2020 was the prequel movie to Wall-E and the future that film showed us.
Oh, no.
I think what a lot of people haven't quite wrapped their mind around is the fact that the experience is going to be this all the time.
All the time.
Access to the creative people and their projects and interviews and game shows and drawing demos and anything they've ever wrapped their mind around that they've ever wanted to see for entertainment that's comic book related. That's what they're going to be able to get all the time now. We're living out our best lives. We've always wanted to do these things, and now we get to do them because of COVID.
Open vein
Constantly.
inserts. This is what we'll be
Just
mainlining. We'll be
constantly in a little box of my face.
Oh, yeah.
But thank you for having us. Thank you for all of this. And thank you for everything that you do, man. And like, Jen, amazing. You're an amazing person. And I know I'm not alone. And really just being so grateful to everything that you're building, even now, for this community. So thank you.
Well, it's taking it really is taking a whole bunch of people with the same vision to be able to make it happen. Because I could want this, or Kyle could want this, or Nick could want this, or Jesse could want this, but we cannot do this independent of each other. None of us have the skills or the amount of time to be up 24 hours to be able to make any of this work. It is really taking a lot of work behind the scenes to try something that just hasn't happened before. Virtual convention, yes, this happened, but something that's going to go on and on and be entertaining for hopefully years and years. That's something probably people are still trying to figure out.
And it's good to know that Kyle's being helpful for a change. I think the man needed some direction.
He can hear you. He's listening. Crap, he's back.
All right, everybody, share your time. Share your socials, where people can find you. Where can they buy your things online? When's the next thing coming out?
Well, redstylo.com is the place to find all our socials, and someday we'll update the website too. But we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. I'll figure out Instagram eventually, and then Mark is all over the Ninja Bear.
Yeah, you can actually, I think the easiest thing is just if you go to markmulaneycreative.com, you can find links to all of Ninja Bear. You can find links to my social media. Really just use Instagram. I know Instagram. She doesn't know Instagram. So she covers everything else. I cover Instagram. I have tens of followers.
Am I your biggest fan?
Possibly.
Yes. I'm going
to get a shirt.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me on here and allowing me to babble incoherently. Enrica's always a great guest, but I'm glad that I got to come in and ruin it for her. So this has been nice.
Thank you for having us.
You're both amazing. I'm going to turn it over to Kyle, who's in the charge.
Well, I just came in to tell you guys thank you for coming. You're two of my favorite people. I enjoy talking to you all the time. We text a lot.
I like that I'm one of your favorite people when we've only known each other for like 4 months at this point.
Yeah, but we met and like the first night we were like besties.
I know. This we have this like we're simpatico kind of thing, Kyle and I.
We started talking about serial killers and the rest was history.
I'm not allowed to talk about it, and Enrica won't let me. She's gonna yell at me if we bring it up.
All right. Thank you guys for being here. We will be back, guys, here on the EXP Expo day number 2. With the galactic one, the legendary Jim Starlin will be joining us in just about a minute's time. stick with us here on the EXP Expo Day 2.